This is Amber Weaver's midterm speech, and this is my audience. Ellie's recording. What are you majoring in? And he said, youth ministry. And I said, you can do that? And he said, yeah. And I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. I recently interviewed my former youth minister, Elizabeth Madio. She is the youth minister and director of religious education at the Church of Annunciation in Kearney, Missouri. I originally contacted her by email and also by phone to set up the interview. And then the first weekend in October, I drove down to Missouri and we met after the church picnic on Sunday in her office. If you've ever been to Elizabeth's office, you know that it's relaxed and a comfortable environment. So we sat on the couches where many fun times have taken place, put our feet up, and just talked. For me as a communicator, the experience was a learning one. I want to tell you a little bit about youth ministry as a career. When most people talk about jobs, they don't talk about vocations and what God's calling you to do. They usually talk about what job you want to do and how much money you want to make. But for Elizabeth, youth ministry was a job that was going to keep her happy in a way that she could serve God. There are many different things involved. As a youth minister, Liz plans and organizes activities for the youth events as well as confirmation activities, such as youth group retreats, mission trips, and the fundraisers to make it all happen. Liz says her favorite aspect of the job is that she gets to do everything she's good at some point in the year. She gets to be a business lady when she's setting things up and preparing for our big auction that we have as a fundraiser. She gets to do advertising when she's making postcards and posters and tickets. She gets to do set design for a thing we do with Stations of the Cross, where we stand behind a big screen and do a silhouette, as well as for the auction we have different themes. She gets to be a party planner, a travel agent, a teacher, a speaker, a counselor. She gets to go on retreats for a day of work. She gets to be creative with what prayer we're going to do or what presentation she's going to set up. She gets to do fun things when she takes the youth to rope courses and different things like that. Liz pointed out a bank teller would have a job where they do the same thing every day. But as a youth minister, it's always fresh and new, and she's always doing something different, something she loves doing. But she also said it's a lot of work. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of phone calls. They're 40-hour weeks, and sometimes she doesn't get to see the kids. She doesn't have youth group, and she's still working those 40 hours to get everything set up and prepared, to get the communication out and to plan youth group for the next week. But something that's really important to me that she pointed out, and this is why I am really interested in youth ministry, she gets to watch God at work in people's lives. This is what Liz said. I love coming to work every day. I love watching a child notice God for the first time in their life, where God's always been there, but they noticed it that day or that time or that event. When I asked Liz how important communication is in her work, she said 100%. There are different types of communication, verbal and nonverbal. For verbal communication, she has daily phone calls to organize events and to answer questions. She has weekly youth group, or the religious education. And with the young people, she always needs to focus on showing care and concern in her communication with them. Letting them know, I'm glad to see you, and not only that, but I do see you. She also has to have meetings with the parents, and she does a communication there. She tries to get the parents on board with her and what she's doing so that they can help her out as it goes. She also has to keep her communication open with God in her prayer life. And she pointed out it's sometimes hard to keep your prayer life going. And when you're working on it at work every day and working and setting up retreats, you still have to focus on keeping your own prayer life going at home. For nonverbal communication, at the beginning of the year, she puts out a calendar and it has all the events that's going to be going on. So when it's September, everybody knows what's going to be happening in May, and they can prepare for that and plan their other events around it. Then they send out postcards with last-minute details, reminders, where families can put it on their fridge and it helps them to remember what's coming next and what's going on. And they put out the weekly bulletin at Mass, which also is communication is put in there. And then she has daily emails where she communicates. Also, she communicates with her clothing as well as her actions. Liz said, more is caught than taught. She dresses modestly and treats other people with care and kindness. She also has to have audience analysis when she's thinking about what she's wearing. If she's going to a parent meeting, she'll probably dress nicer because that's her audience. Where at youth group, she dresses a little more casual, jeans and a t-shirt, because it makes it a more comfortable environment for the young people. And on mission trips, she has no makeup, shorts, and a t-shirt, and that tells the youth that I'm in this with you, and I'm here with you and doing this with you. So there's lots of different ways she communicates. Also, a very important part of communication that we can't forget is listening. She has to listen to the kindergartners, she has to listen to the high schoolers, she has to listen to them for audience analysis and thinking, what do they want to do, what do they want me to do, how can I catch their interest, but as well, again, in the caring way, where caring, I do hear you and I'm listening to you, is also very important with the young people. She has to listen to their parents and what they want, and again, she has to listen to God. And she has to listen to God by speaking the truth. And when she's speaking the truth, she's listening to God. As you can tell, Liz uses a lot of communication as a youth minister, and she has the education to back it up. She has a master's in theology, which is the broad academic side of religion. She has an undergraduate in pastoral ministry, which is more general, where people who have that education can go into music or business management at a church. They could be a missionary, a campus minister, director of stewardship, and, a youth minister, which is what she decided to do. She's also certified in youth ministry. This is a more specific training. It's a 2-year program, and it's practical application. It's the how-to of youth ministry. So this would include a lot of the communication education, how she's going to do things, how she's going to get the communication out. She has continuing education. She has yearly conferences, which include workshops for communication skills. Liz feels that education is key in youth ministry. She pointed out that the burnout time for youth ministry is 18 months without education. And as she said, it shouldn't be that way. God may have had all this time planned for you, and you burnt out because you were trying to do too much at once. Whereas if you have that education, it teaches you to put the brakes on and to set your limits and to know what you're doing so that you don't burn out. Liz is in her 8th year as a youth minister, and she still loves her job. For my interview with Liz, I've learned a lot of the basics about her work and education, as well as how communication ties into it all. A lot of which I already had an idea about. But the main thing I learned is how much more practice and education I need. Talking with Liz about how she communicates, as well as watching how she was communicating with me, I realized how advanced she is in her communication skills. I look forward to becoming more comfortable and casual in my speaking, and I hope to pick up a knack for knowing what to say at the right time. I realized as she was answering my questions promptly and in detail that if I were the interviewee, I'd probably be saying, let me think about that. But that's why I have a lot of education and practice ahead of me. And the other thing is, it's not all about me getting it right and always knowing what to say. It's about letting God do His work through me. It's about serving Him and serving the kids. And that's what I look forward to.